some of you guys may have been wondering, where have I been for the last month not uploading any videos? You know, who is this guy? Seriously, not making any videos for a whole month. Well, the truth is I've been extremely busy, and that is because I've been essentially finalizing the absolute biggest ever suite of changes to my brand Lux Terra, or no longer my brand Lux Terra, because in fact what I've done is gone and rebranded and separated out the perfumery supply store from the perfume brand. So both of those two now have completely different websites, completely different new names, logos, and all of that. And in this video, I'm going to explain firstly why I made those changes, secondly, exactly what changes I made, and then I'm going to talk about all of the new products that I've gone and launched with these new brands, including my new perfume, and also my second ever USA and Canada perfume shipment. So if you're in US and Canada and you've been interested in getting some of my perfumes, then I'm going to give you details on how you can go and get hold of those. And finally, at the end of the video, I'm also going to talk a little bit about the future of both of the new brands and exactly my plans for the future. So if you're interested in finding out a bit about my own brands and what's going to be happening with those, then definitely stick around to the rest of this video. If you don't care about that, then that's cool too. I will be uploading regular videos again, hopefully starting from next week, and also be doing the competition results soon. So you've also got that to look forward to. So before we begin, let's do a little bit of a history lesson, and I'm going to explain to you guys exactly how we got here. So I started my perfume brand back in 2019 when I just finished university, and at the time I was trying to get a job as a perfumer, but I couldn't find one. So I was like, man, fuck this, I'm just going to make my own brand, which is a bit random, right? But I thought, yeah, man, okay, I'm just going to have to work out how to do this on my own and learn on the job. So that's basically what I did. I moved home, I tried to start the perfume brand. And, you know, to begin with, I started up the company, designed my logo, and obviously at the time I was like, I really need to get down to actually learning to make perfumes and selling stuff, so let's not spend too much time on the logo. So I was just messing around in Adobe Illustrator. I remember I was just looking for kind of a name, you know, and a logo, just something that could work and look, you know, decent. And I thought, you know, I'll just change it sometime in the future. So I was playing around in Adobe Illustrator and I was typing around, and, you know, I came up with this Lux Terra. And I thought that was kind of a pretty good logo because I thought, oh, this looks quite nice on paper. And what it means is Lux is light and Terra is earth, and this is in Latin. And I thought, well, because, you know, I really like landscapes, I used to do some landscape photography, still do it occasionally. And when I make perfumes or think about perfumes, in my head, they're kind of like these big, vibrant landscapes, right? And the perfume is this kind of essence or this smell, and it's kind of almost like its own picture. And in my head, at least, my perfumes form little landscapes. So anyway, I was messing around with the typography and I put this little E in, and I could have said Lux ET, like A Terra, because in French and is A or ET, and in Italian it's just E on its own. So I thought, why don't we mix those two together and make the E with just like the tiniest T, which kind of looks a bit like a plus symbol. Yeah, I know, but you can see where this is going, right? It's starting to get confusing, but I thought, this looks kind of cool, that E with a little plus. It makes the logo a bit more interesting than just the text on its own. So I thought, that looks cool, let's use that. Now, what I didn't realize at the time was in the future this was going to confuse a load of people, because the official name is Lux and Terra. Because I was quite unclear about which language or how to actually even write that and, as in, is it an E or an ET or an E+, people got confused. So I got people messaging me, and I still get people messaging me on Instagram, you know, oh, I've seen your brand, Lux E+ Terra, or Lux Terra, or Lux E Terra. And, you know, no one seems to really know how to read it, which is obviously a massive problem if you see something and you don't know how to read it. The other thing is, when people actually ask me in real life about the name of my brand, and I have to say, oh, it's Lux A Terra or Lux and Terra, firstly, when you say it, it doesn't really have a ring to it, right? It sounds a bit generic-y and kind of lame. But also, it's not easy to go and hear that and then go and type it in, because if I say Lux and Terra, because those are Latin words, they're not English, when you say that to someone, they don't necessarily actually know how to spell it or what I'm actually saying to them. So essentially the whole name was just super awkward, and I've been wanting to rebrand it for quite a while, but there are a couple of reasons I didn't do that straight away. I mean, to begin with, right, I was just trying to get the brand going, and I thought, look, the actual business is more important here, and the branding, the logo, you know, I can refine that a little bit later, especially when I've got a better idea of exactly what I wanted to do with it. But also the other thing was, you know, at the time, I just didn't really have the kind of resources to make the vision, let's say, I had for the brands actually possible. So anyway, this year I finally decided that it's a good time to do the rebranding. And part of the reason for that is because the perfumery supply store side of Lux Terra has actually become really big, much bigger than my perfume brand. However, if you looked at my old website, that was kind of hidden away at the bottom of the page and you had to go through all these menus to get there. And the whole website was kind of stupid because I couldn't obviously say, as someone designing the website, if you're a customer looking for my perfumes or the perfumery supplies. And at the same time, if you're a customer on that website, if you're looking for perfumery supplies and you see all this stuff about my perfumes, you don't know where to find what you're looking for. On the other hand, if you're actually just looking to buy some perfumes and then you see me selling all these pipettes and bottles, you're kind of a bit confused, like, what is all this stuff going on? So I think it was just a little bit confusing, and I really wanted to have two separate distinctive brands for the two separate customer bases. So essentially that if you're there for a certain thing, then you've got the whole website tailored for you and your needs, you know, and what you're trying to look for. So the new website with the perfumery supply store really focuses on the equipment, and then also the blog posts, which are essentially kind of excerpts from my videos, but little tips on perfume making. And the new perfume brand is, well, something completely different, which I will talk about in a second. So let's have a quick little recap. What actually happened with the whole story of my brand? So I started it back in 2019 and I launched my first perfume. So essentially I really began getting really serious into perfumery at the end of 2019. And at that time I was making my first ever perfume because I was like, you know, I kind of need to learn on the job and start actually making some sales at some point. So I made the first ever perfume called Astral Water, and that was essentially for sale in Christmas 2019. After that, I went to build a log cabin in the garden, and that was because I was like, I need an office and somewhere to actually do all this stuff, somewhere to put all these ingredients and all this equipment. So I went and constructed a log cabin. Then at the start of 2020, I was working on my next perfume, which was Moonlight Harvest. And this isn't actually the same Moonlight Harvest you know now, but I'll discuss that a little bit later. But the original Moonlight Harvest was something completely different. And then I was about to launch that in like March 2020, and the week I was going to go do that, suddenly the pandemic happened. So I was ready to go to markets and try to actually go and sell this new perfume, and then suddenly I couldn't actually go out and sell it. Now, during COVID, my family actually decided to move house, and because of that, I lost the log cabin. And then I actually had to go and find a full-time job because, you know, I wasn't actually making any money in the business and I needed to find a way to live. So I went to move house, I went to find a job, and I didn't really have time to do perfumery, especially for most of the middle of 2020. But then I came back to it, and I really, at that point, knew that I wasn't really going to be able to sell any perfumes because it was the middle of the pandemic, so no one could, you know, go and smell them anywhere. I couldn't go to any real-life locations, so I thought I would focus a bit on the online side of the business. So I thought I'd focus on YouTube and really trying to grow the channel. And also, that's when I really started for the first time creating the perfumery supply store section of the business. So I've got an update video here from late 2020, which is explaining a little bit about, you know, my plans, what they were at the time. Right, I just wanted to do a quick channel update. So you may have noticed that I haven't been posting any videos in the last couple of months. So the reason for that is basically I had to find a new job recently, and then after that I had to move house and then start the new job. So basically I just haven't had any time to be making videos, and also all of the perfumery stuff has kind of been packed away into boxes. I'm just starting to get it all unpacked now. So from this point, hopefully I can make videos more regularly again. And I'm hoping to make one this week, so that should be the beginning of that. And yeah, so things should be back to normal. And then I also wanted to say thanks to everyone who subscribed and commented on my videos. Got some really nice comments, and I think it's cool that people are still watching the videos even though I'm not uploading them at the moment. So yeah, thanks everyone for that. And that's all from me, so see you soon and have a lovely weekend. Then I also really remember this order, which was my 13th ever order about a year after starting the business. And this one was really special because this was my first ever international order. This one went to Slovenia. And also this was my first ever order over £100. So at the time I was so happy with this. I was like, it was like the best feeling ever, you know? All right, so today we've got the first ever £100 order for Lux Terra. We can see we've got some lovely bottles, some scent strips, sample vials, a lovely custom-made rack for those sample vials, a lovely box of pipettes, and a book. So yeah, that was the start of 2021. Then in 2021, I started adding some new products. So I got my custom perfumery racks. I went and designed those and got those manufactured. And I also really started shifting my attention to formula at that time, because at the time, formula, I'd really just kind of started it, and I really was like, man, this is going to be the most important thing that I've ever done for the brand. Like, I actually was, at the time, was really demotivated with my perfumery, and I thought, you know what, I really need this app, because that's what's going to allow me to work efficiently and, you know, ergonomically, to the point where I can actually enjoy perfumery, as opposed to, you know, just the mess of all these formulas kind of ruining it for me. So then I moved again, and, you know, I was still doing the supply store. I was actually having issues at the time, because some of you guys may have remembered that I used to sell these little thin bottles, and I was using those at the time because they were the cheapest ones I could possibly find. But it was really fucking annoying, honestly, because these people in China, they were shipping me these bottles. Like, imagine a whole pack of 100 glass bottles, and they would literally post them in a bubble wrap envelope. Like, I've actually got one here. It's this kind of thing, right? It's just an envelope with bubble wrap. Imagine sending a pack of glass bottles inside of those with no other protective packaging. So, you know, those kept smashing, and it was super annoying, because I would have a couple of glass bottles break in the pack, but then when I wanted to get a refund for those bottles, the supplier would only refund me like the 1 or 2 bottles that had smashed, but they left a lot of glass dust around all the other bottles. So in order to like save the pack of bottles, I would literally have to painstakingly spend a couple of hours manually cleaning all of the glass dust off the bottles. So that was super annoying. I found a new bottle supplier. And then 2021 was a crazy time, because mid-2021, that was when I essentially put all of my focus into formula, aside from the YouTube channel. I was just doing really like heavy work on formula, and that was when I finished it and finalized it, getting it ready to launch. And I remember it was a crazy time, because I was there, you know, working a full-time job as a software engineer. I would get up at like 7 a.m. I remember some days I would come downstairs, go on the couch, get a coffee, and I would just work on my laptop for 2 hours coding formula. Then I would start my actual job, do that till like 5, 6 p.m., at which point I was completely exhausted. So I would go, you know, and get some food, make some dinner. And then after that, I would go and work another few hours on formula, until I was like so tired that I literally just started falling asleep. And then it goes to the weekend, and then on Saturday, I would try to make a YouTube video, try to get all that done on Saturday. And then Sunday, I would just spend like 6 hours coding formula. And that was the kind of thing I was doing for like a few months in summer of 2021. And that was just to get formula finally released. So I released formula in 2021, and then that gave me the time after that to finish off Vanilla Wood. So that perfume I've been kind of working on just over a year. The end of 2021, just before Christmas, I managed to get Vanilla Wood launched. And at that point, I discontinued the old Moonlight Harvest and the Astral Water, because I'd grown a lot in those couple of years with my perfumery, and I was at the point where I wasn't really happy with the way those two smelled anymore. I was like, these aren't, in my opinion, professional enough or representative of the quality that I want to go for with the brand. So I discontinued that, started the new Vanilla Wood, and that was the start of the current perfume range. So after that, in the start of 2022, I remember I was kind of super burnt out at this point, you know, working that full-time job and then doing the business in the side. But the YouTube channel and, you know, my online store orders were actually beginning to grow. So eventually in March, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to quit and work my business full time and find some way to make it work. So I quit my business. I moved back home with my family, this time the other side of my family. And I was just like, man, I'm going to use the savings that I've made for the last year working this job, or the last couple of years, and I'm just going to try to live off those and run the business and hope that I can keep going with this full time. And that was the start of 2022. So in 2022, I was spending really a lot of effort trying to increase the quality of my YouTube videos. Maybe some of you guys noticed around then, but I really made a lot more effort with like the graphics, the quality of recording. I got this new camera, so now the videos are in 4K, that kind of stuff. And that was also when I released By Virtue of Sunbeams, one of my perfumes. That was kind of late summer, early autumn 2022. And then finally, just before Christmas in December, I released the new Moonlight Harvest. And those perfumes were kind of funny on the name, because remember I told you that the Moonlight Harvest before was a completely different perfume? Well, that was actually the formula which I'd refined a bit more, and eventually it evolved into By Virtue of Sunbeams. And as I was making that, I made a certain variant with cherry in it. And then I was like, man, cherry, that sounds way more like actual Moonlight Harvest. So then I made another perfume off of that, and in the end changed so much that it was completely different once again. And then that new cherry perfume became the actual Moonlight Harvest. And the reason that I kept it as Moonlight Harvest was I did firstly really like that name, but also I'd had all this packaging that I wanted to get used up. And you know, getting those boxes printed, I had to do a print run, and it cost me like £500 just to get the boxes done. So I didn't want to waste that packaging. I thought we could go and use that again. And to be honest, I'm actually really happy in the end, because I think the old perfume didn't really smell like a harvest time perfume, but now the new one has actually got apple, cherry, wheat, all this harvest time stuff. So I actually think it's a way better fit for the name than it was before. So that brings us to the start of 2023, current year. Start of 2023, the perfumery supply store was really starting to take off at that point. I actually went and bought a bubble machine because I was needing, before I was reusing all of the packaging that I got from suppliers to pack my orders, but I was starting to get to the point where I actually needed to, you know, have my own packaging. And because a lot of you guys internationally actually order from the store, I needed to make sure it was lightweight in order to make sure that the shipping wasn't too expensive. So I went and bought this really cool bubble machine, which you can just like turn on and it spews out all of these little bubble pouches. So I did that, and then I also organized my first ever North America shipment, which was kind of a big deal. This is the first time I'd ever managed to ship to you guys in North America, and all of those perfumes sold out within a month or two, which was really cool. I actually get more orders from you guys in North America than I do normally for my UK perfumes. About the same time as that, in March, was when I had one of my videos go viral, which was my how to make perfume video from October the previous year. For some reason, that video started doing really well. It might have been because it was just after that collaboration that I did with Omar from the School of Scent. Anyway, that video suddenly blew up, and that was really useful because it helped me get more orders, get more traffic to my YouTube channel and the online store. And since then, we've just been kind of trying to make good quality videos, trying to improve everything, you know, do this and that, and really try to make the business more of a proper business. One of the highlights for me this year was actually I received my first ever pallet. I mean, it was barely a pallet. It was like the kind of smallest possible amount you could fit on a pallet. But I actually went and got a load of these Winchester bottles because these are the ones I use for my dilutions. And I went and bought those in bulk in order to make sure that I could get those for you guys at a reasonable price on the online store. Right, so all of that brings us up to the present day, and it was this summer that I finally decided I was going to pull the trigger on the rebranding. So again, like I said before, the reason for this was really to have a bespoke online environment for each separate customer base. And that also means that if you're interested in one set of things but not the other, then you don't have to actually care with that being thrown in your face. For example, if you want to hear about my new perfumes, you want to sign up to my perfume brand mailing list, you don't have to hear about the new pipettes that I've got for sale. So essentially there are two new brands, right? And the names for those are, for my perfume brand, it's Zurai, and for the perfumery supply store, it's the Fragrance Foundry. So how did I come up with those names? Well, interestingly, the Zurai name for the perfume brand, I actually came up with that back in 2020. I remember when I was still in the log cabin, and I kind of did what I normally do with perfumes, which is, you know, I brainstorm a lot of different names, and eventually over time one sticks. Now back at the time, I thought, oh, you know what, I don't want to do it right now because I've only just launched my brand, so, you know, I don't want to change it straight away and cause a commotion. I also thought, you know, if I just thought of that new name now, surely I'll think of another even better name in a few years' time, so why don't we just hold off for now and see if I think of something better. So where did the name Zurai come from? Well, actually, I kind of combined two words together. Now, one of those words is Zurich, which is the capital of Switzerland. And I actually used to live in Switzerland from 2018 to 2019 when I was doing my year abroad. And I didn't live in Zurich, I lived in Lausanne. But when I lived in Switzerland, it was literally one of my favorite places in the entire world. And when I lived there, I just felt so at home. It was kind of like this nice town on the side of a lake, and it was surrounded by mountains. It just felt like the exact right kind of place. And I loved it. I loved it so much. And I was always going around exploring in the forests and the mountains. I always kind of think that with my brand, I really want it to be a little bit about kind of, you know, following your dreams, following your goals, self-improvement, that kind of thing. And I thought it's really appropriate, especially to be named after a place which is full of all these mountains. Because in my mind, when you're climbing mountains, that's kind of, you know, like you're doing hard work to reach your goals. In mountain's case, it's the top of the mountain, but it's a great metaphor for kind of any goal that you want to achieve in life. Now, the other side of the word came from samurai, so that's where the rai at the end came from. And again, it's a similar kind of idea. It's because I think firstly, samurai are pretty cool, right? Like, who doesn't like samurai? But the idea behind the samurai is that there are these warriors, and they are kind of full of self-discipline in order to kind of master their art, the art of the samurai. And also they've got a lot of craftsmanship put into their katanas, right? And that's kind of the same idea with the perfumes. So all my perfumes, I painstakingly put in loads of different trials to hone them in until I think they're just right. So that was kind of where the name originally came from. obviously you've got the kind of U with the 2 dots from Zurich. So in the logo, I actually managed to incorporate that with the 2 dots above the U. And if you look at it, it kind of looks like a happy face, which I think is really cool. But also you can just write it without that. So either way, with the dots on the U or not is fine. Then on the other hand, for the Perfumery Supplies brand, we have the Fragrance Foundry. Now this name I only came up with this year, and I don't really know how it came to me, but I think I was in a kind of a meeting or something at some point and, you know, like daydreaming a bit off. And for some reason that name just randomly came to me as one of those thoughts, and it just happened. And as soon as I thought that thought, I was like, man, this is going to be the name for the Perfumery Supply store from now on. And that was actually really useful because once I knew I had that name, I knew I had the 2 names for the separate brands. I knew, like, kind of deep down that they felt just right, because that Zurai one had stuck with me somehow for like 3 years. And I was like, man, this is perfect. This means I can now do that rebranding. So the next step, of course, was to actually go and find someone to do these logos for me, because unlike last time, I didn't want to do them myself because, you know, I thought it would be nice to have something a little bit better quality. So I managed to find a designer after looking through a load of portfolios, and I found someone. I thought their work was really good, and most importantly, what I was looking for was someone who could not just kind of do already bog standard typography, but I really needed for these logos to find someone who could actually do kind of you know, a bit of a customization in the text itself, because I knew for that Zurai logo I was going to need like a almost hand-drawn. It was going to have to be like a really meticulously thought out typography just to make it, you know, look just right and give the aesthetic, which, well, it pretty much gives pretty well now. So I found someone, and I didn't realize it at first because their portfolio was so professional, but it ended up being a schoolgirl from Ukraine who's just finishing her high school. So I commissioned her to do the Zurai logo, and honestly, she did a fantastic job. Honestly, I was probably a little bit annoying to work with because I requested so many very specific like refinements and modifications to get it just right. You know, I'd say things like, oh, can we just move this line here like 3 pixels higher? You know, little things like that. I guess it's because the Zurai one was really important for me, being the perfume brand. But in the end, she managed to do an absolutely fantastic job, which was really cool. And honestly, I was really happy to get it done with her in the end because, you know, at the moment, especially with all the shit that's happening in Ukraine, it really felt good to actually be able to support a real person in Ukraine. Hopefully you guys are aware of all the crazy fucked up shit that Russia is doing to them at the moment, but if not, then make sure you educate yourself on that. For example, this is my graphic designer's Instagram. Like one day on her way to school, she posts like just a picture of a blown up building because her city was bombed overnight. So really appreciate her for actually, you know, going through all of that and still finding the time to go and design my logo for me. So she did such a good job on the Zurai logo that I thought I would ask her to do the Fragrance Foundry logo as well. And again, I was really happy with the way that panned out. Like again, you know, I'm the kind of person who's pretty hands-on when it comes to creative direction. So I gave quite a specific brief with this like anvil and globe symbol, but you know, in the kind of fonts that I wanted to be used. But again, she absolutely killed it and did a really good job. So thank you very much. So then that's the story with the logo and the rebranding. Now I'm actually going to explain to you the new websites and the new brands and exactly, you know, all of the changes essentially that I've made since the old Lux Terra website. So firstly, if you'd have gone on the Lux Terra website on Halloween, hopefully you saw my nice little Halloween scare, which was kind of like Lux Terra of a graveyard being killed off because, you know, I was thinking maybe I could prank some of you guys that I'd shut down the brand for good. I don't know if anyone actually fell for it, but yeah. So if you came back on November the 1st, the next day, just after Halloween, then you would have seen the new websites. So with the launch of Zurai, I'm also releasing the only perfume that I'm releasing for my brands this year. I also did that scent trunk perfume a month ago or so, but for my own brand, this is the only launch I'm doing this year. So this new perfume, got it right here, is called Aquatica. Now this perfume is essentially a blue fragrance. So it's probably in a similar ballpark for things like Cool Water or, you know, Eau Sauvage, those kind of fragrances. Now, personally, I think it's my best work yet, though, you know, obviously everyone's got different tastes. But essentially what it is this super serene kind of, it's like fresh, aquatic, slightly sweet, but it's very calming, I find. And it's just this light kind of fresh, airy smell. And it's really meant to be like a kind of really watery fragrance. In fact, the whole symbol, if you look on the nice shiny new label, the symbol is actually the North American Indian symbol for the element of water. So I'm kind of thinking maybe at some point I'll finish off doing the other elements, so, you know, like fire, earth and air. Of course, I don't know how that's going to go because, you know, this took me like a year just to get this one perfume launched. So hopefully I'll be doing the other perfumes a little bit quicker. Otherwise, it's going to take me 4 years to do that. And I don't know how much time I'll have for my perfume brand, given that, you know, everything else like Formula and Fragrance Foundry is actually the main part of the business. Of course, I want to keep doing YouTube videos as well for you guys. But maybe, you know, maybe, just maybe, I'll do an Elements range and this will be the water perfume. And if that's the case, then there will be like a fire and an earth and an air perfume as well. But anyway, the star ingredient for this perfume is actually this stuff, which I've got in this big canister, which is Cypress Absolute. So if you guys don't already know, one of my favorite perfumery raw materials is cypress. And that is a tree that you find mostly in the Mediterranean. And the smell of this stuff, honestly, I really like the smell of it. To me, honestly, it's like a swampy, foresty, like deep, mossy kind of forest woody smell. And also this stuff is an absolute nightmare to work with. It's like this thick kind of green gunky stuff. Actually, that's where most of the coloring comes from in the perfume. And then as well as that, I've also got this massive canister of Cypress essential oil. So that Cypress Absolute comes from a company called Biolands, which is a French company specializing in super high quality perfumery raw materials. And then this one is from Payne Bertrand, which is another French company also specializing in super high quality perfumery raw materials. So to get these ingredients for that perfume specifically, I had to go and order these massive quantities. But in my opinion, it was well worth it because that cypress oil is honestly, it smells like no other cypress oil I've smelled, and I've gone through like 5 or 6 different cypress oils that I was trying to test out to find the exact best one. And then that Cypress Absolute, I honestly could not find a supplier for it anywhere else. The only other place was Perfumers World. But when I got this Cypress Absolute, I actually thought the quality was way nicer, so I decided to go and buy that. Now that was kind of annoying because I had to go and spend about 1.5k just to meet the minimum order quantities for those companies. But on the flip side, I've now made those 2 ingredients available for sale on the Fragrance Foundry. So if you want an amazing quality Cypress Absolute of your own, or even some Cypress essential oil, which while you can go and buy these from other places, as far as I'm aware, I don't know of any kind of like normal perfumery hobbyist stores where you can buy these exact ones from those manufacturers. If you want to pick up some of those, which are honestly really unique and I think they smell amazing, then you can go and actually get them at the Fragrance Foundry. Oh, and another thing is now with all the raw materials I'm selling at the Fragrance Foundry, I'm doing dilution labels pre-printed with the raw materials. So instead of having to kind of scrawl your own like handwritten little 10% label for the dilution, you know, I'm sure some of you guys have got nice label printers, but if you want like a nice pre-made label, then I've got those covered for you. So they'll come with the raw materials. So yeah, that's a new Aquatica perfume. Essentially, it starts off with this kind of fresh, breezy, like ocean breeze kind of, these kind of fresh notes with some citrus in as well. And then that kind of dries down a bit more into the kind of main aquatic notes. And then it dries down at the end to some very soft musks and some kind of really quite woody notes. So it's really a citrus, aquatic, woody perfume, or you could probably call it aquatic first and foremost. And then it's got really nice hints of citrus and a lot of woody notes as well. Now, if you're interested in trying out my new perfume or any of my old perfumes for that matter, and you are located in the US, now you can go and do that once again. So the last perfume drop that I did for the USA and Canada was reasonably successful. I think I shipped over about 50 perfumes or so last time, and they all sold within like 1 or 2 months. Now I've got the next perfume shipment, and this time I'm doing pre-orders. So up until November the 19th, you can essentially pre-order any perfume that you want from the new Zurai website. So any order you make in that time, I will make sure I add that kind of put aside, especially for you in the next USA shipment that I do. And then depending on how much room there is left in the box after I've done all the pre-orders, I will try to add in some excess kind of, you know, a few of each perfume. So that means if you want to test something first with just a sample set, then you should hopefully have the opportunity to go back and pick up a full bottle if you want to afterwards. Now, last time, the most popular product was actually the little bundle I did where I put all of the perfumes in one package. So this time I've gone and done a similar bundle again, and I've gone and put this time all 4 perfumes in one bundle. And if you get that, you not only save a little bit on the price of all 4 perfumes, but you also get free shipping, which is pretty expensive for the US orders because it has to go firstly to the US under special dangerous goods shipping, which is expensive. Then it has to go sit in a warehouse and I have to pay for someone to go and fulfill all of those orders, plus the final shipping price at the other end in the US, which is again dangerous goods shipping. So all of those kind of fees add up, which makes it quite expensive. But if you go and pre-order the new bundle, you get free shipping. Then you also get one of the new Zurai t-shirts, which I'm wearing right now. I'll talk a little bit more about those in a minute. You also get one of the reed diffusers, which I released last year. And finally, you also get one of the new travel wallets. And I got these so that if you ever want to bring your perfume, say you're going out to work, you're going out on a night out, you're going on a little weekend away, a holiday, anything like that, you got something nice to be able to bring the perfume and protect it. And I think these little leather cases are pretty good. So they fit all of the new 100ml bottles, but of course you can also fit the smaller 50ml bottles inside them as well. Now, if you are in the US or Canada and you want to make an order, you don't have to buy one of these bundles. It's just the most cost efficient way to do it. Also, for those of you who purchased the bundle last time and you don't want to buy those same 3 perfumes again, there's a new bundle just for the Aquatica perfume, the t-shirt and the travel case. So if you just want to get up to date with the newest things, then you can just go and get that. And of course, you can just go and buy any of the individual perfumes themselves. So all of this stuff with the t-shirts, so what I wanted to start doing with the brand is actually have a few t-shirts, maybe some hoodies, that kind of thing. So that's something I'm slowly going to be introducing. To begin with, it's just going to be this kind of classic black t-shirt with the Zurai logo. But over time, I hope to test out some maybe different colors of the logo and some different kind of designs. So with the t-shirts, because they're fulfilled by the t-shirt printing company, they aren't actually limited now to the US drops that I'll be doing. So you can actually go and order one of those anytime in the year. But if you want to do the perfume, of course, then make sure you get into that next drop. So the pre-orders close on November the 19th. After that, I will look at all the orders that we got, make sure all of those are packed, ready to go in the box, and any space that's left over, I'll add in a few extra perfumes, maybe some sample sets, things like that. I'll ship those over to the US, fulfill all the orders that have been pre-ordered. Those should get there in time for Christmas. It should be sometime in, I'm hoping early to mid-December it should be shipped, but if not, it should definitely be kind of mid to late December. And then the rest of the stock from that shipment will just be sold on a first come, first served basis until it's sold out. Now, the final thing about the Zurai online store is that as well as actually buying stuff, you can now go and read these stories for all of my perfumes. So if you don't know, my perfumes, they all have their own kind of whole like little world, their own little aesthetic that you can kind of dive into and imagine you're just, you know, in that for a little bit. So if you go online on the website and you go on the main menu, you can click on each of the 4 perfumes and you'll get a full page for each perfume, which goes over the kind of story and has loads of nice full page artworks, which you can go and look at and immerse yourself in the worlds. This is one thing that I was super excited about because that's something I didn't know how to do before with the old website. But now with the new website, I can go and make all of those pages for the perfumes. I think it's really cool, probably my favorite feature of the new website. And honestly, it's something I've been wanting to do for years. So to finally have that is really nice. So just a quick reminder, if you want to go and pre-order one of those bundles, just a new perfume, or even if you just want to go and check out the stories and everything, then click on the link in the description and you'll find a link to the Zurai website. Oh, and by the way, if you're a UK customer, then you don't actually have to pre-order, then everything will be shipped straight away. Right then, so that was Zurai. What about the Fragrance Foundry? So with the Fragrance Foundry, the real main thing that I've been focusing on is firstly the actual website itself. I wanted to make a new website that was way faster than the old one, and the new website is way easier to navigate. It's got all of the stuff kind of organized, a lot of it's on the front page, and then the menu system is better as well. Also, I've gone and added a load of new products. So if you watched earlier, you'll see that I've got these new raw materials like this really nice high quality Cypress oil. So not only that Cypress Absolute and Cypress oil, but I've got some other really nice high quality naturals. And apart from that, I've also now got some very kind of simple or like basic synthetics that are just commonly used all the time. So with those new raw materials on the store, it's mostly either something that I'm already using in my perfumes for the Zurai perfume, so I've already got the stock of it, so I might as well. Or it's something I had to buy in especially for those perfumes, like for example, the Lux Terra Absolute, because it was just such nice quality, that one that I got. I couldn't find anything quite like that anywhere else. Or for example, those cypress extracts, so the Cypress oil, the Cypress Absolute, again, couldn't find quite the same quality thing anywhere else, so I went and bought them for myself. So that's essentially the raw materials on the store. Now that is only UK shipping for the moment, unfortunately, and that's because some of those raw materials count as dangerous goods, just like the perfume. So at the moment, it's not really possible. It's just too much of a hassle to go and start trying to ship all of that stuff internationally. Hopefully at some point in the future, we can sort that out, but for now, that stuff's UK only. Now, something that is international shipping is the new range of retail packaging. So as well as all the existing products like the essentials, you know, the scent strips, pipettes, bottles, which are really the main things, there is also now more retail packaging. So originally I sold the screw top kind of spray atomizers. I've got more of those, but as well as that, there's also now the actual perfume bottles which I use in the Zurai perfumes. So if you want to go and have your own really professional perfume bottle with a proper kind of like crimp sealed on top, as opposed to just those screw caps which, you know, can leak, then you can go and get those as well. And with the retail packaging, it's cool because if you want to go on the budget end and buy the screw cap ones, that's good because, you know, sometimes those are useful, right? Those are what I used when I was starting out. They're cheaper. And you can refill them as well, which is really nice, and you don't need any special tools. But the downside of them is, yeah, like I said before, if you don't screw them on really tightly, then they can leak. Then on the flip side, if you want that really kind of proper high-end packaging with that crimp seal that's never going to come undone, then you can go and buy that packaging too. And the quality of the glass and everything and the plastic on the atomizers is also a little bit higher on those as well. So that's the new Fragrance Foundry products for now, but it's not the only new products that are going to be. So I've just gone and ordered a load of Fragrance Foundry branded lab scales. So hopefully they should arrive next month. So if you're looking to pick up a new lab scale for your perfumery, like a professional lab scale, then you should be able to go and pick up one of those. I'm also going to be working with a well-known supplier of really good top quality lab balances for those of you who are looking to start your own business or, you know, do freelance work, that kind of thing. So we should have a range of like different tiers of scale depending on how much you want to spend versus how much quality you want. And then as well as that, I'm also doing a collaboration with a raw material supplier to release a starter kit. Another cool new thing about the Fragrance Foundry is the collectible cards. So since I love that logo so much, I thought I would get some cool little collectible cards printed. So the idea of these is that these cards are actually printed in a unique Pantone ink. If you don't know what Pantone is, it's just kind of like, you know, in your printer when you use different dots of, you know, CMYK is, for example, cyan, magenta, yellow, and K, which is a different word for black for some reason. But all of those things, they use the different colors and they kind of mix them together with different amounts of dots to get your thing that you print. And if you look really closely at it, you actually see all the different colored dots. With a Pantone ink, which is like a pure kind of dyed ink, they actually go mix the color beforehand. And that means when you put the ink through the printer, the printing is done in a pure single color. So some brands, for example, use these when they want to get a very specific color for their printed material. It also allows you to get colors which aren't possible with a regular printer. Now, all of this sounds very fancy, right? But essentially, the new cards that are printed for the Fragrance Foundry are in limited print runs and they are in a unique Pantone ink. So for example, we're starting off with this one here, which is neon blue. And this one is a limited print run of 500 cards. So the idea of this is, because this whole Fragrance Foundry thing is, you know, part of this whole journey that I was talking to you about at the start of the video, and this is the beginning of hopefully a bigger brand. You know, one day I would like the Fragrance Foundry to be, you know, a proper, like, kind of one of the main, hopefully, stores, or if not the main place you can go and purchase your supplies from online. And I thought that by having these nice little collectible cards, it means that you can be a little part of the history of the Fragrance Foundry every time you make an order. So what's going to happen with these cards is they're numbered individually from 1 to 500, so that you get literally a unique card from the limited print run. And then every time that those cards run out, so for example, for the next print run after these 500 neon blue cards are finished, then I'll choose a new Pantone ink, so a completely different unique color. And then the next print run will be in that new color, and going forward, each print run of these limited edition cards will be on a unique color. So, you know, if you're like a lifelong regular customer of the Fragrance Foundry over like 5 years or something, hopefully you'll collect all of the different like Fragrance Foundry collectible cards, which, you know, most of you guys probably won't care about, but I just thought it was a nice little touch for those of you guys who are really fans of what I'm doing here with the channel and the brand. So that's everything new for now, but now we're already here, we've gone through this whole video, I might as well explain to you guys kind of my rough roadmap for at least the next kind of year or so. So we'll start off with the Fragrance Foundry since we've already been talking about it. So with the Fragrance Foundry, firstly in December, I've got these new scales shipping in. So if you're looking for a kind of perfumery scale, then you should be able to come and get a Fragrance Foundry scale. On top of that, I've got 2 new collaborations. So one of them is with that leading scale company. So this is a well-known company of really good quality scales. We will start selling their scales too. So especially if you're looking for a really good quality, kind of more high-end scale, then you'll be able to pick up one of those. And also I'm doing a collaboration with a raw materials brand. So this is going to be a new starter kit of raw materials for getting started with perfumery. Then the plan with this new kit is that there are going to be videos on my channel that I'm going to make aimed at complete beginners. So if you go and pick up the kit, and also I'll make a bundle of equipment on the fragrancefoundry.com. If you go and pick up those, you'll be able to follow along every single step with the videos, and they'll teach you all the basics like diluting down your raw materials, you know, doing your evaluations properly, and, you know, going to kind of start to blend some things. Now, beyond that, in 2024, one thing that I'd like to sort out, I'm not sure yet if it's going to be possible, but something I would like to sort out is to do duty paid shipping. And that's because if you're an international customer, so for us, someone outside of the UK, currently when you get your order, you probably have to pay, at least in most countries, some sort of import tax or customs or that kind of thing. I would like to find a way to make sure you can pay all of the taxes beforehand online, which means that when you get your order, you know that the price you're paying is just the price on the website. At the moment, it hasn't been possible, but hopefully if the orders increase and I keep getting more international orders, then at some point it's going to be kind of viable for me to go and set all of that stuff up properly. As well as that, one thing I would like to do is some kind of book or course. Now, at the moment, if you look at it, I've got all of this free information on the YouTube channel. Don't worry, that's not going anywhere. I'm going to keep making free YouTube videos. But for those of you who want a really kind of concise, condensed down thing where I take all of the information and structure it and put it in like a kind of learning path. So if you want to accelerate your learning rather than going through all the individual videos, so you just want kind of everything in a really structured kind of like curriculum way, I'm going to make some kind of book or course, hopefully, so you can just go and hopefully accelerate your kind of beginner perfumery training. Alongside that, I'm going to continue trying to just find new cool products that you guys would like. So depending on what keeps selling best, for example, if the retail packaging starts doing better, I might try to find different types of bottles to put on the store. If the raw materials start doing well, then maybe I'll try to find some more raw materials. And of course, the main goal with the store is really the essentials. So things like the bottles, the scales, the pipettes, scent strips, that just basic stuff that you need. So anytime that I can get better pricing on that by buying in bigger bulk, I will, if I can do that, then I will, and then I'll try to pass those prices on to the store. Now, at the very end, or probably mid to late 2024, hopefully I will have an announcement about the future of Formula, but that is quite a while away, and at the moment I don't really have anything that I can share with it. But if you are a fan of Formula, because I know a lot of you people ask me about it, there is something coming in the future. Finally then, we have my roadmap for the Zurai brand for the next year or so. Now, one thing I would really like to sort out is perfume shipping to the EU, because that's just something I've not been able to offer yet. So I'm at the moment trying to see if I can get an account with a company that could do perfume shipping to the EU. So we're going to see how that works out. There's also the possibility in the future of doing more permanent shipping to the US. So again, nothing sorted out at the moment, but it's something I'm going to be working on. Hopefully next year I'll have more than just one new perfume like I did this year. I don't know yet. It's really going to depend on how much time I have to do it, because at the end of the day, I just don't really have as much time for Zurai as I do for the other stuff like YouTube and the Fragrance Foundry. But if it's possible, I would like to get a few more perfumes out. As well as that, I'm going to try to get some nicer boxes for the new bottles that I've got, because I don't know if you look on my website, currently the boxes I've got for By Virtue of Sunbeams and the new Aquatica perfume aren't the nicest boxes ever. They're pretty cheap. Now, the plus side of that is because these boxes are so cheap, it's not adding any cost to the perfume, so you get still a really good quality perfume at a low price for just coming in a bad box, which you're probably going to chuck away anyway. But that said, I still would prefer to have a nicer box, so I'm going to try to look into that next year. I'll probably have to get a custom fitted box for those bottles. if I do that, since I'm selling those bottles already on the Fragrance Foundry, if I can get a custom box, maybe like a plain blank box, I'll also try to add those to the Fragrance Foundry store, so that if you want to go and use those bottles for your own perfumes, you know, say you've got your own brand, then you can also go and get a nice box that fits it as well. Again, that's just a hope, that's an idea, it's not something that's set in stone yet. Another thing that I want to do is go and take the old Lux Terra perfumes and update those into the Zurai brand. So what I want to do is mostly add new packaging for them, you know, to kind of update the packaging and fit with the new Zurai style of packaging that I've got. But also I may make some very slight tweaks to the perfumes, you know, just to maybe improve them. But if that does happen, don't worry, there won't be massive changes. It'll just be very subtle refinement. So if you already like one of the perfumes, don't worry, it's not going to have like, you know, like a really big change. Another thing is I actually want to continue to refine the stories with the perfumes. So some of the perfume stories are currently a bit more fleshed out than others. So I hope to kind of flesh out some of the stories that don't have as much detail so far. And when I add new perfumes, I also want to go and add to that whole kind of like Zurai fantasy world, and hopefully just flesh it all out a little bit more and make it a bit more detailed, a bit more immersive, and also add new artwork to the website, so you've got way more of an adventure when you go to read all of those stories. Now, since the perfume brand is split off from the supply store brand, I would like to kind of move a little bit in the direction of a fashion brand with the perfume brand. Don't worry, it's still going to be primarily a perfume brand, but I do want to spend a little bit more time on these new t-shirts. So if you look now, I've got this first Zurai t-shirt, which I think came out pretty well. But I also want to try experimenting with kind of like different designs, different colors, different things. So for example, maybe like t-shirts, hoodies, maybe, you know, other stuff. And the idea is it's meant to be kind of sleek clothing that looks good. And ultimately, I just kind of want it to feel like when you're wearing it, you can kind of feel that spirit of the brand, which is this whole idea of going out, following your dreams, and kind of creating what you want out of life. So that is pretty much everything. I know this was a super long video. Actually, it ended up being longer than I thought it would be, but this is kind of nice actually, because any of you guys who are interested in my brands, now you've got like all of this stuff in one place if you want to go and refer back to it. So if you did make it this far, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate your investment in my brands and all the stuff I'm trying to do with them, because obviously, you know, it's a massive amount of work and I do appreciate it. You know, it's really nice to know that some of you guys are big fans and that some of you guys, you know, support all this stuff that I'm trying to do. So thank you very much. One of the main priorities that I've got is that competition that we ran earlier in the year. I really want to make the video with the results of that. So hopefully that will come in the next few weeks. I just need to kind of finish making up everything and judging it all and doing the results. Then, as well as that, hopefully the YouTube channel is just going to get back to business as usual, and I'll be having new videos, so different raw materials, hopefully some different accords, perfume formulas, and really just about anything, just like it always has been. So there's that to look forward to. And then finally, if you do want to go and check out my new brands, remember you can go and check those out in links in the description below. So you can go to www.thefragrancefoundry.com or www.azure.ai. Those are new brand websites. And if you are in the US or Canada and you want to pick up one of my perfumes, then definitely check out the Zurai website and you can go and pre-order those for the next US shipment up until November the 19th, at which point I will ship those over and those should arrive sometime in early to mid-December. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you very soon with another video all about perfumery.